I've talked quite a bit about this concept of the first volume syndrome. This idea that a writer or mangaka in this case has this really good idea. And it's a really awesome idea. And it makes a really fantastic first few chapters. Hilarious. But then they never really think beyond that once it gains success. It's kind of the feeling I get with The Vampire Dies in No Time, a series that is airing in the fall 2021 anime season. This is my thoughts on the first 3 episodes of the series, so let's jump right into it. The Vampire Dies in No Time opens up with a guy named Ronaldo, and he is being hired to go into this vampire's lair, this big mansion, to essentially save this child from this vampire. And as he arrives there, he opens the door and claims that he's going to save this kid, and the door bumps this Dracula, this Draluk vampire and kills him. That's the end of the show. No, I'm joking. That's the joke. But this vampire quickly regenerates himself, gets back up, and is angry that the guy opened the door on him. As we find out, this Draluk guy is essentially an immortal vampire, seems anyways, but he dies really easy. So anything like a clap of hands can literally kill this guy. That's how weak he is. And as Ronaldo is trying to get this kid out of this mansion, it seems like Draluk doesn't want him there either. He's just there because there's video games there. As they're tracing him around this house and going through all these traps, eventually the entire mansion gets set on fire. Draluk loses his home. The kid goes back home. And Ronaldo goes back to his life of being a vampire hunter, plus also a novel writer. But lo and behold, Ronaldo finds Draluk at his office because, dude, you burnt down my house, and so now I'm going to stay at your place. So now they started this whole thing where everybody starts to find out that this Ronaldo guy, who is a vampire hunter, is actually using a vampire as his partner, essentially, and they go out and they fight vampires. All the while, yes, the shtick is that Draluk dies really, really easily. And eventually they catch the attention of like the big heads who are basically making sure that Draluk isn't a bad vampire and that he's allowed to stay there, or if they're going to have to take him out, or if, Ronaldo is working with him. There's also a lot of fun in this first 3 episodes centered around the fact that Ronaldo has this editor who is very dangerous. This guy essentially points out this idea that this publisher themselves does not hire anybody unless they're skilled with a bardiche. So every time he gets a call from his editor, the guy's like, hey, where's your next manuscript? Are you ready for the next volume of that book? Oh, I guess I'll come by. And he starts freaking out because this guy comes in dragging this big old weapon. And a lot of this 3rd episode kind of centers around that organization that's kind of keeping an eye on Draluk to make sure he's not a bad vampire. And it kind of follows Hinaichi, who is this girl who is kind of assigned to him, as she kind of watches Draluk and make sure, again, that he's not a bad vampire. And the entire time, she's pretty much misinterpreting a lot of things. Like, she believes that Draluk is purposely acting like he's super weak in order for everybody to drop their guard so that he can then, basically attack. Even going so far that when he dies to a bunch of random kids that walk up to him, she's like, oh, well, he's killing himself so that he doesn't harm these poor kids. Oh, he's so sweet in nature. Yeah, a lot of misunderstandings around that. So like I said in the very beginning, it does really feel like this concept is solid in kind of setup. Like, the setup of this was hilarious. Having this Dracula guy, or Draluk guy, I keep wanting to say Dracula. This Draluk guy who is this immortal vampire that is one of these highest ranking vampires, but he's extremely weak. So much that, again, somebody clapping their hands can kill him. Somebody stomping their feet can kill him. Just anything. Having them walk into this convenience store to fight this guy that's apparently turning into a vampire. The moment they question where Draluk is, they turn around and he's literally, his cape got stuck in the sliding doors of this convenience store and it killed him. It's that bad how weak he is. And that's the joke. And that's the starting joke that definitely sets up things for a lot of laughs. Like the first episode, I was laughing like crazy. I thought it was absolutely crazy, and I thought it was hilarious. But it's second episode and onward where I found myself kind of going, all right, I guess I got my laughs out of this whole concept. What more are you going to do with this whole idea? And I still got a lot of laughs out of Hinaichi as she's essentially misinterpreting what Draluk is and taking the concepts of him being super weak and turning it around as if it's some diabolical scheme That stuff was a little bit funny, but overall, the rest of the stuff wasn't really working for me. And I think that, again, that's going to go in the whole idea of comedy is subjective, and some people might still find a lot of these jokes really funny. It's just, for me, that core beginnings and some things here and there still had a lot of laughs out of me, but the overall concept, it doesn't have much legs for me. But I think if you like that concept, that idea of somebody that's extremely weak and them trying to really fumble through things despite that weakness, you're probably going to find a lot of laughs here. And I think this will be a really great show for you to check out. But for me, the staying power is very difficult for me to gauge. I think I'll probably give it one more episode just to see if it still kind of brings something into the mix that will kind of refresh it. Because that's what they're doing. Essentially, over the episodes, they're adding new characters. There's new characters being added to add more chemistry, but that chemistry being added is very hit and miss for me. It's also, unfortunately, not the most good-looking show, which technically comedies don't necessarily have to be the most crazy animation and style, but it does look very rough. It's very rough put together, which is very surprising because Madhouse is a good studio, and so I'm guessing they're just not putting much budget in the show, or they just feel that it doesn't need that budget. But yeah, that's my thoughts on The Vampire Dies in No Time. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, leave a like down below, comment, let me know what you thought of the series, or if you can check it out. Subscribe if you haven't already. Share this video if you can. Support us on Patreon if you can. We definitely appreciate everybody that does. And in the description, there's a tip button where you can support us directly. And y'all take care.